happy to be able to welcome these young people to the stage and to ARDD, and thank you so much for all the help you've been doing and for your work with interviewing speakers and so forth. It's really fantastic. There's also videos online of these amazing people. I think there are some videos on our YouTube channel already. So please give them a warm welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the ARDD Ambassadorship Program. Today, we, the 3 ARDD ambassadors, will share our stories with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Harsahaj. I'm a 17-year-old machine learning researcher. The past 2 years, I've been interning as a genetics researcher, business operations, and also a machine learning developer. So I've been doing it all. And from a young age, I was always interested in the health industry, but I thought the only way to get involved with it was to become a doctor. And you know, like the South Asian stereotype, become a doctor, that wasn't necessarily fed to me, but I was kind of influenced by my peers around me. So I thought being a doctor was the only option. But when I entered a program called the Knowledge Society, I was introduced to emerging technologies and science like longevity, artificial intelligence, and brain-computer interfaces. And there I realized I can actually intersect the two and disrupt technology in the health industry. And so since then, I've been interested in bioinformatics and also a whole bunch of research on that aspect. So at the moment, I'm working on a project to create a machine learning algorithm that actually detects EEG data, which is essentially brainwave data, and it analyzes that to show any patterns that can indicate someone has depression or struggling with other neurological disorders. Aside from that, through those roles I've been doing throughout the years, I realized that I find most joy and most passion when I'm working on bridging accessibility gaps. Because yes, advancing technology is super important, but that technology is typically not distributed to those that do not have equal access. So I'm mostly interested in bridging those access gaps and ensuring that we meet a certain bar and standard for everyone across the world.
Okay, it's on. Hi, I'm Zach Harpaz. I'm a high schooler who goes to school at Pinecrest in Florida. So I started being very interested in AI and more computer science, and I was working on a project where I was using neural networks and AI to determine bias on media, which is a very important issue in current day. And then I started getting interested in biology and wanted to bridge AI and biology, but I wanted to go in the most interesting and best field of biology, which I'm sure most of you can agree is longevity. So I decided I wanted to bridge AI and longevity. So then I went and got an internship at In Silico, which has been really great, and we'll talk more on that later. And now I'm an ARDD ambassador and here to meet all of you.
My name is Andrea Olson. I've been with RDD for 2 years now, since 2021. So I came to this conference last year and got to experience the magnitude of amazing opportunities and speak to the people here as well. Before that, I interned at In Silico Medicine, and I'm still continuing with the drug target discovery. And likewise, I've also been at a laboratory working with mice, looking at fear-conditioned memory and how that could lead to PTSD. So I have a general interest in neuroscience and wanting to bridge it together with longevity. And recently, I've also interned at a company called Riffit, which works with a text-to-song AI mechanism, helping people with aphasia and dyslexia. But now I'd like to expand a little bit on the ambassadorship opportunities that you have at RDD. So first of all, of course, you get to come to this conference and meet the amazing speakers here, ask them questions, ask for career advice, and the other thing I find really cool is that you get to interview them live and before the conference as well. For instance, all of us interviewed some of the speakers, and both before the conference and here. Another great opportunity, and perhaps the aim of the RDD ambassadors, is to inspire longevity in other young high school students. And finally, you can start building your career right here at RDD.
So, what are the career opportunities if you become an ARDD ambassador? So one is if you're in high school or going into university and you're interested in maybe creating a startup now or in the future, what better place to get started than here? There are a whole audience of people that have been very successful in founding a startup, and where else can you get better advice than from the people that have actually done it? And then in addition to that, if you're more interested in academia and you want to conduct lab research, There are also tons of researchers here with labs that maybe if you become an ambassador and come to the conference, you will be able to join one of their labs, which is an awesome opportunity. And then lastly, internship opportunities, which Andrea and I are live examples of, and we'll get into that. This is a great place to find an internship at maybe a tech company, healthcare company, or any type of company involved in longevity.
And for the past 2 years, I've been an ambassador for the past 2 years. We've all gotten the opportunity to interview and talk to many experts like yourselves. And I just wanted to give a few examples of the advice that's resonated with us. So I was in contact with Laura Dimming over email, and she told me that it's important to learn how to think and understand biology at a fundamental level. Yes, while it's important for us to read research papers and understand the higher level, to actually make our own insights, it's important to get down to the details and the depth of that biology. So that's really important. Another piece of advice we got from Nir Basalai, who's here, is to go to the hallmarks and see what excites us. So longevity is a very vast field, and it's important to explore all of the different hallmarks and explore what actually really excites us, instead of kind of getting a surface level understanding of all of them. And lastly, from Dario Valenzano, don't be afraid of reaching out to scientists. And this is what has resonated with me most, because if I didn't reach out to Alex 2 years ago, I wouldn't be here right now. And I actually have a flight to catch in 1 hour, so that's the end of my part, and I'll see you guys next year.
And now, we'd like to show you what RDD ambassadors really can do. If you've just grabbed coffee or lunch, I suggest you put it down, because we have found something that will make you think twice before wanting to conquer AD. If, on the other side of longevity, there's cancer, brain cancer. Glioblastoma multiforme is the cancer of the brain. Its effects include the disruption of the blood barrier, which makes it very difficult to conquer with pharmaceutical compounds. Also, invasion of adjacent tissues and an increase in intracranial pressure are other effects, leading to terrible headaches and seizures.
And the statistics about glioblastoma really show why it's important to research it and find a way to treat it. The 5-year survival rate of glioblastoma is only 6.8%, which is crazy compared to a more common cancer like breast cancer with a 90% 5-year survival rate. And this is after the average survival length post-diagnosis is only 8 months. And you can see on the fMRI image on the right-hand side of the screen that the tumor not only affects where it is in the brain, it changes the whole entire structure of the brain.
Glioblastoma, unlike many other cancers, has a normal distribution when it comes to age. As you can see, the peak of glioblastoma incidence is from 41 to 50 years of age, and then the incidence decreases. However, most cancers peak at 50 to 70 years of age. What's even more unique is the fact that glioblastoma affects children as well. You wouldn't find breast carcinoma in a young teenager, but glioblastoma affects a shocking 36,000 pediatric cases per year.
So here on the screen you can see the well-known targeted molecular mechanisms in glioblastoma, and evidently, as there's 9 of them, there are many different subtypes of glioblastoma. And many researchers choose to study these well-known molecular mechanisms, but we decided to take a completely different approach. We decided to study if age was correlated to the genetic expression in glioblastoma. But the difficult part about this is that a pediatric brain and an adult brain are very different. They have different metabolic rates and generally different brain environments, as well as normal gene expression. So we had to do something different.
Instead of taking a pediatric brain and comparing it to an adult brain, we looked at the gene expression. And if you were to compare a pediatric brain to an adult brain, you'd have to take age extremes. For example, children under the age of 5 and adults over the age of 30, because the border between a pediatric and an adult brain is not so clear. For example, let's take a brain of a 17-year-old. Certainly, it's closer to an adult brain, yet we classify it as a child's brain just because we're used to saying that all patients under 18 are children. And in addition, taking such an approach would also lose a lot of data. And as Zach and I realized, and a lot of other glioblastoma researchers understood, there is a real lack of data for glioblastoma multiforme. So instead, we looked at the overall age correlation data in glioblastoma samples.
So I know Panda Omics has been discussed at this conference over the week, but we're going to give you another quick overview on how we used Pandaomics in our study, with our goal using Pandaomics to create a target ID. So the first step in creating a target ID is obviously gathering omics data, as well as textual data, research, financial reports, etc. And then from there, all this data is gone through over 18 different neural networks that each analyze an individual aspect of the disease, as well as the biology, like the pathology, gene mutations, and gene expression. And then after that, the predictions are combined in one large ranking, and then we get our target ID with each putative target ranked. And now we will show you our target ID.
So we gathered 29 data sets of glioblastoma multiforme and compiled them all in a large meta-analysis on Pandaomics. Here is our list of 100 top targets that was based on omics scores, financial evidence, text-based evidence, and key opinion leaders.
And pay attention how the first and then the number one ranked gene is actually TP53.
We'd also like to point out the fact that without the Pandaomics target ID, you'd be gathering data from all over the internet and all over sources, whereas that target ID actually compiles everything for you in less than an hour. And now, let's return to the main study design. So our overarching question was, does the environment of a pediatric brain affect or define glioblastoma differently than the environment of an adult brain? And consequently, this led us to a more focused question. Is there a correlation between the age and genetic expression patterns in glioblastoma?
So, as you heard before, for our target ID, we collected 29 different data sets. But we decided with our more new focused question of research to only use one data set. And we needed a data set that had to have very strict criteria. It had to have patient or control and tumor sample paired with age data, be recent enough for us to actually be able to use it, and be an RNA sequence data set, as well as produce a high-quality volcano plot with the differentially expressed genes. And this is where our real data issue came in, where we were only able to get one solid concrete data set that matched each of these criteria.
This data set had paired tissue and control and tumor tissue. This allowed us to do a pairwise analysis with the aim to find the most correlated sign genes. What this means is that we found the top correlated genes for tumors and top anti-correlated genes for tumors seen on the right, and the top correlated and anti-correlated genes for control patients.
So then we took our age-correlated genes and plotted them on a heat map, and you can very, very vividly see that the gene expression in the healthy tissue versus the tumor tissue is entirely different.
And out of the list of top correlated and anti-correlated genes that we got, we chose the 4 most with the highest age correlation difference in tumor and control tissue, as you can see on the screen. Notice that there is a sign change in correlation based on glioblastoma tissue and control tissue. So WAM and IRF3 are the 2 genes that were positively correlated with glioblastoma tissue and age, and those were also negatively correlated with control tissue. NACA3P and CDKN3 were negatively correlated with glioblastoma tissue, but positively correlated with age and control tissue. And as high schoolers, we already realized the fact that this shows us a cancer-age trade-off. Why? Because if you knock down WAM and IRF3 in glioblastoma patients, you risk to increase the speed of aging in those very patients. But now a little bit more about those genes. What we found is that 3 of them, WAM, IRF3, and CDKN3, are well-known aging targets, whereas NACA3P is a new target. What this shows is that our method has given us 3 targets that are already well-known. This means that the method works. So Zach will explain their function now.
So what we found about the WAM and IRF3 gene is that the WAM gene participates in a p53-dependent cell death pathway, as well as the IRF3 gene participates in DNA damage-associated cell senescence, as well as actually premature organismal aging, as well as having to do with other aging-related issues such as retinal aging. And then we decided to run these genes through our Pandaomics meta-analysis.
We wanted to test whether they are druggable, because the risk of aging is certainly much lower than the risk of glioblastoma. So if we could target these molecules, we'd be saving millions of patients.
And what we see in our meta-analysis is that although Pandaomics says they are not druggable, they shouldn't be disregarded because they can still be regulated through microRNA or through gene editing.
And to summarize, there is a normal distribution of glioblastoma incidence, and this is unusual for cancer. Next, our pairwise analysis showed that we have different top age-correlated and anti-correlated genes in tumor and control tissue. And finally, we found 4 genes, NACA3P, CDKN3, IRF3, and WAM, which have the largest age correlation difference in tumors and controls. And we want to have you focus on those 4 genes because 2 of them are completely new targets from the perspective of glioblastoma, NACA3P and WAM. NACA3P is also new from the aging perspective, whereas the other 2 genes are well known in both the aging and cancer world.
And lastly, we want to thank the Inspire Longevity Program for having us here. It's really been awesome being at the conference, and also our conference organizers, Morton, Alex, and Daniela, and a special thank you to Alex for making this research possible. Thank you.
And now we're ready.
Please stay. This is amazing. Do we have any questions? Maybe I can ask a question. So, has it been okay, this ARDD experience?
Oh, it's been brilliant. Oh my goodness.
No, it's been okay. It's been awesome.
It is fantastic. You know, I was just saying that this is the best part of the meeting, and we were discussing what we were doing when we were, you know, your age, which was not this for sure. So, but this is amazing. You guys are fantastic. Thank you so much for coming and for all you're doing for ARDD. And this is, you know, spearheaded by Alex. I'm just
really not.
I'm just taking credit for Alex right now, but
actually your idea. So.
So this is Alex's.
Yeah, I must say that these guys are 16. Okay, well, 16, 17. You know, I remember what I was doing when I was 16, 17. I couldn't present in English because I didn't speak English. And you guys are presenting like high-level target discovery exercise that could turn into a startup on a PowerPoint nowadays, right? So I'm
Amazing.
truly amazed.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for organizing
Let's give them another
this.
round of applause.
I just want to say you guys are wonderful, and also both of you for putting this together. I'm reaching out on behalf of lifespan.io, and there are a lot of students that reach out to us all the time saying, how do we get involved? What do we do? And so I would love to learn more and figure out how we can augment and work with you guys and distribute this a bit more. So congratulations, and you guys for putting this together for the students.